I'm not giving somebody hell, I guess it's not a good day. But anyway, yeah, I go home every night to see whether or not my power's been turned off or not. I'll talk to you a little more seriously about that in just a second. But Sylvia, thank you for letting me be here. I came up through the ranks. I was Henry County Democratic Chair, and then was later the chairman of the 5th Congressional District Committee before I was elected to the House of Delegates. And so I know what all it takes to put something on like this. I served a few hot dogs in my day, put up a few campaign signs at precincts at 4 a.m. in the pouring rain. But thank you for all your yeoman work as chair of the committee. This is where the rubber meets the road. And I've been at this thing for a while, and I see my friend Jody Brown, who was what some of you may remember. I used to represent part of Franklin County the first 10 years I was in the legislature. Ferrum, Henry, and Fort Mountain. I love Ferrum. My dad was ran the Ferrum veneer plant for, gosh, over 30 years, and I knew lots of folks in Ferrum and Ferrum College where Jody was and her husband, and I have a lot of fond memories. And Cliff, you're right, I may be representing part of Franklin County again at some point in time. What he's alluding to is the census takes place this year, and after the census, the General Assembly redistricts. That is, they redraw all of the legislative lines. And the last time it was done, Republicans were in charge of both the House and the Senate, and I was thrown into a district with 2 other Democrats. Now that they don't know quite where to put me because I'm surrounded by Republicans, and I've told them, I said, guys, wherever you put me, I'm running. Now, I may not win, but whoever you put me in with is going to know they've been in a fight for 8 months. And so I can imagine being in the room with Charles Poindexter, Don Merrick's, Danny Marshall, and Bill Carrico, them trying to figure out which one's going to have to run against me. But we'll see. That'll be next year. Also wanted to join in my good friend Senator Bill Hopkins. You talk about a moving force in state politics. Bill Hopkins, who for many years represented the Roanoke area in the state Senate and was such an influential and prominent figure in the state, and it's one of the things I guess that I enjoy being in this business is getting to see people who had such an impact on this state for so many years and carried the banner of the Democratic Party long before I ever came along. And so, Bill, it's just a pleasure to again be with you. He plays bridge every day and still circulates, and Bill, it's wonderful to see you, and thank you for all your many years of service to this great Commonwealth and for all that you did. Let's give Bill a hand. And you couldn't have a finer prosecutor than Cliff Hapgood. From time to time, I have a client or two that finds themselves, let's say how we say, somewhat askew with the law, and I'm defending them. And Cliff Hapgood does such a fine job in law enforcement in this county, in making certain that the people of this area are protected. You know, at the end of the day, one of the most important things that government does is protect the citizenry. And a key component of that is good prosecuting, and Cliff does such a fabulous job in prosecuting cases in this county. And Cliff, thank you for your kind introduction, even though you maligned my alma mater, Go Devils. But Cliff Hapgood deserves a round of applause. I am an empty nester. My oldest daughter is in law school, and my youngest daughter left literally about 50 minutes ago. She was leaving in her car going to UVA to Charlottesville as we were headed out the door. In fact, both my daughter, one's a graduate of UVA and the other one's there. I just have the two. Neither one of them went to Duke. Now, I have to admit, I've had to warm up to this Wahoo stuff and all this orange, but at $17,000 a year at UVA versus $45,000 at Duke, I've warmed up rather nicely. I'm nice and toasty. But one of that's certainly lonely at our house, but one of the, I guess maybe the good things that come from being an empty nester is my wife Pam is able to travel with me. For many, many years, when I was out on the hustings, she was not able to go, and one of the real pleasures now is to have her come with me. Honey, where did you go? She left me already. There you are, my wife Pam. who also has family roots into the Fork Mountain area. So we have lots of ties into Franklin County. I guess maybe I'm the warm-up act for Tom Perriello, who is fashionably late, I guess, today. But I'll tell you, Bill, I probably have to pay you a royalty. I'm going to tell you a story. He was telling me about when he was campaigning around in 1968. He was on the Democratic National Committee when Hubert Humphrey was running. He was out in Grundy. So there were 800 people in Grundy. Any of you that know Grundy's not that big of a place, and that's a big crowd. But you know, Bill was carrying the banner of the Democratic Party, and some fella came up to him and said, "You know, Bill, it takes more than one hound yelping to keep the bear up the tree." And you know, that's exactly right. In Tom's race this time, and that's not any of us have any pretense. I'm not going to lie to you all. I never have in being in politics, and I'm not going to start now. This is going to be a tough race. It's a tough race because you know, the 5th district is a swing district. It's a tough race because there are a lot of people that have been upset, I think, with what's been going on in Washington, although, you know, you look at what happened for the 8 years previous, and I don't know, maybe people think that a mess can get cleaned up overnight, but in any event, we all know that the public is somewhat unsettled, and this is going to be a tough race, and Tom Perriello is going to need the yelping of every hound in here under this roof. And what that means is that one of the most inefficient ways to campaign, but the most effective, is for a candidate to go door to door, to personally talk with people that you want to vote for you. And so in the same manner, the most effective way for Tom Perriello to get votes is for each and every one of you to go out and to tell your friends that I'm voting for Tom Perriello, and it's okay for you to vote for him too. And if you do that, there isn't any reason why the people that are in this shelter, and I don't know, by my estimation there's probably 100, that if every one of you talked to 10 people, that's 1,000 votes. You know, right there, plus the 1,000 that are in here. In 30 years of politics, I've seen a lot of young politicians come and go. I have not seen anyone work any harder, have more courage, have more fortitude than Tom Perriello. And you just... I wish you'd leave so I could feel like I could talk about you while you're not here. But the thing that he cares most about is the creation of jobs. And Lord knows, in an area of the state that has been so racked by unemployment and jobs going overseas, manufacturing jobs going overseas, that's exactly what we need is someone in Washington to work on jobs. We need a person of courage. And that's Tom. I tell you, too, that Tom has been a partner with me as we have worked for fair electric utility rate regulation. And there's no question that things have gotten out of hand in our part of the state, and it affects both residential customers as well as business customers. And I will certainly, on my level, pledge to do everything I can to try to rein in these rate increases and change Virginia's law to provide for a more, what I think, fair to the consumer, both the residential and the business consumer of electricity, a fairer consumer regulatory scheme, and Tom's going to help me with that. And on his side of the fence, everything that he's doing with green energy and trying to have energy reform in this country is clearly a step in the right direction. What a crime! It wouldn't be a shame, it would be a crying shame if this election came and went and we did not re-elect a person who has done the job that Tom Perriello has done. What kind of a message does that send about the people we want to serve if we don't return someone to office that has a heart as big as his and a work ethic as large as his? So,